0248 mm. The eastern Black Sea is silent. No warning sirens, no radio chatter, no explosions. Darkness stretching across hundreds of miles of open water. Then everything changes. A flash appears on the surface. Small at first, almost invisible, a tiny white spark racing across the waves. Most warships would never notice it. Most radar operators would dismiss it as sea clutter, a reflection, a wave, a glitch. But this is not a wave. It is a weapon, and it is closing fast. The Russian frigate cuts through the darkness, its steel hull pushing thousands of tons of water aside. The vessel is one of the most heavily armed ships in the Black Sea Fleet. Its radar arrays scan the horizon. Its missile launchers stand ready. Its crew believes they control the sea around them. They are wrong. The small contact reaches the side of the ship. The impact is instant. A massive explosion erupts against the hull. Steel bends. Metal tears apart. A shockwave races through the entire vessel. Inside the ship, lights flicker. Screens go black. Alarms begin screaming from every compartment. Crew members are thrown against walls. The blast has ripped open a section of the hull large enough to swallow a truck. Water begins pouring inside. Thousands of gallons every second. The ship is wounded. But the attack is only beginning. High above the Black Sea, nearly 5 miles in the sky, another player watches everything unfold. The surveillance aircraft circles silently through the darkness. From this altitude, it can see almost everything. Every ship. Every radar signal, every aircraft movement, every electronic transmission. Its sensors gather information from hundreds of miles away and send that data instantly to operators monitoring the battlefield. The aircraft never fires a shot. It does not need to. Information is its weapon, and information is changing the war. The damaged frigate struggles to recover. Backup systems activate. Emergency generators roar to life. Technicians race through smoke-filled corridors attempting to restore power. But before they can stabilize the situation, another threat appears, far from the ship. Along the coast, launch crews are already preparing the next wave. Engines ignite. Multiple drones accelerate into the darkness. Each one carries enough explosive power to cripple a major vessel. Individually, they are dangerous. Together, they are devastating. The operators guiding them do not need to see the target. The surveillance network already sees it for them. Coordinates flow through encrypted channels. Speed, heading, position. Every second, the drones become more accurate. Every second, the ship becomes more vulnerable. Meanwhile, Russian air defense operators scramble to respond. Radar stations activate across the coastline. Power surges through massive antenna arrays. Electronic beams sweep across the sea, searching, tracking, hunting. For a brief moment, the defenders believe they have regained control. Then new contacts begin appearing. Not one, not two. Dozens. The screens fill with signals. Some are real. Some are decoys. Some are intentionally designed to confuse the system. Operators struggle to determine which threats matter. That confusion is exactly what the attackers want. Because confusion creates hesitation, and hesitation creates openings. Back on the damaged frigate, the crew finally manages to restore part of the ship's combat system. One of the defensive weapons comes alive. The rapid-fire cannon begins rotating. Its targeting radar searches the darkness. Then it locks onto something. The gun erupts. Thousands of rounds tear into the night. Streams of tracer fire streak across the sea. The sky glows orange. For a moment, it looks impressive, powerful, overwhelming. But there is a problem. The cannon is shooting at where the threat was, not where it is. The target keeps moving, changing direction, closing distance. The radar is damaged. The tracking solution is unstable. The gun is firing blind. The crew does not realize it yet, but they are fighting ghosts. Several miles away, command centers monitor the battle in real time. Large digital maps display every movement, every ship, every aircraft, every radar station. Analysts watch the data flow across their screens. Patterns emerge. Weaknesses appear, and one conclusion becomes increasingly clear. The nature of naval warfare is changing. For decades, large warships dominated the oceans. Size meant power, more missiles, more sensors, more armor, more firepower. But now something much smaller is challenging that equation. Cheap drones, unmanned systems, autonomous weapons, machines costing a fraction of traditional military hardware, machines that do not require crews, machines that do not fear death, machines that never become tired. The implications are enormous. A warship worth hundreds of millions of dollars can be threatened by a weapon costing less than a luxury car. That reality is forcing military planners around the world to rethink everything. But tonight, theory is becoming reality. The damaged frigate suddenly receives another shock. A second explosion strikes near the stern. The rear section of the ship shudders violently. Equipment breaks free from mounting brackets. Communication systems fail. The vessel loses speed. Water floods additional compartments. Damage control teams fight desperately to contain the flooding. Pumps activate. Watertight doors slam shut. Emergency procedures begin, yet the situation continues deteriorating. The ship is no longer fighting the enemy. It is fighting time. Every minute that passes brings more flooding, more system failures, more chaos, and more opportunities for the attackers. Across the coastline, military commanders assess the growing crisis. The battle is expanding. What started as a strike against a single vessel is becoming something larger, much larger. New orders are issued. Air defense units receive fresh instructions. Aircraft prepare for launch. Missile batteries enter combat readiness. Additional drones move toward their assigned targets. Everyone understands the same thing. The next few hours could reshape the balance of power in the Black Sea. Far overhead, surveillance platforms continue collecting information. The battlefield has become a giant network. Sensors feed data into command centers. Command centers distribute targeting information. Weapons respond instantly. The speed of decision-making becomes almost as important as the weapons themselves. This is no longer simply a contest of firepower. It is a contest of information. Who sees first? Who reacts first? Who understands first? And tonight, one side appears to hold that advantage. The crippled frigate drifts through dark water. Its crew continues fighting to save the vessel. Smoke rises from damaged compartments. Emergency lights flash red through narrow corridors. Engineers work desperately to restore critical systems. Sailors drag hoses through flooded passageways. Officers attempt to maintain control. But beneath all the activity, a terrible realization begins spreading through the ship. They are no longer the hunters. They have become the target. And somewhere beyond the horizon, another wave is already coming. A larger wave. A faster wave. A wave designed not merely to damage a ship, but to expose the vulnerabilities of an entire fleet. The Black Sea is entering a new era, and before dawn arrives, the consequences will become impossible to ignore. The damaged frigate is still alive. Barely. Emergency generators continue feeding power into critical systems. Smoke hangs inside the vessel like a living thing, crawling through passageways and collecting beneath steel ceilings. Damage control teams work without rest, sealing compartments, pumping floodwater, and fighting fires that refuse to die. Yet every sailor on board understands the truth. The ship survived the first attack. That does not mean it will survive the next one. Miles away, hidden launch sites begin coming alive. Engines start. Fuel pumps engage. Navigation systems activate. Across multiple locations, wave after wave of unmanned aircraft prepare for takeoff. The coming operation is not designed to sink a single ship. It is designed to overwhelm an entire defensive network. One by one, the drones rise into the darkness. Then dozens become hundreds. Soon the sky is filled with moving contacts. From a distance, the formation resembles a migrating flock, but there is nothing natural about it. Every drone carries explosives. Every drone has a destination. Every drone is part of a much larger plan. The objective is simple: force the defenders to react. Force them to spend ammunition. Force them to reveal positions. Force them to make mistakes. Military commanders have understood this principle for centuries. A fortress does not always fall because its walls are weak. Sometimes it falls because its defenders become exhausted. The swarm races toward the coastline. Radar stations detect the movement almost immediately. Warning alarms activate. Operators begin tracking incoming targets. Large screens fill with symbols. Every symbol represents a potential threat. Every threat demands a response. Within minutes, defensive units across the region are placed on maximum alert. Surface-to-air missile crews rush into position. Anti-aircraft vehicles deploy around key infrastructure. Power stations activate emergency procedures. Critical facilities prepare for impact. The defenders know the attack is coming. The problem is scale. No system was designed to handle this many targets at once. The first interceptors launch. Missiles streak into the sky. White trails cut across the darkness. Several drones disappear from radar. Moments later, bright explosions illuminate the horizon. Successful interceptions. Temporary victories. But the swarm keeps moving. The drones are not slowing down. They are not turning back. For every target destroyed, several more continue forward. The numbers begin creating a dangerous equation. Defenders can destroy drones. The question is whether they can destroy enough of them. Along the outskirts of a major coastal city, an anti-aircraft battery opens fire. Twin cannons roar. The night erupts with tracer rounds. Shells fill the air in front of the incoming formation. Explosions ripple through the sky. Several drones vanish instantly. Others tumble toward the ground. The gunners maintain continuous fire. Target after target is eliminated. For a brief moment, it appears the defense is working perfectly. Then reality arrives. Ammunition. Every shell fired reduces available supplies. Every successful interception comes with a cost. The swarm understands this. Its mission was never simply to reach the target. Its mission was to force the defenders into a battle of consumption. Minutes pass. The guns continue firing. Barrels glow from the heat. Spent casings pile around the vehicles. Crews work frantically to sustain the barrage. Then the inevitable happens. One system reports low ammunition. Another reports the same. Soon multiple batteries are facing identical problems. The drones are forcing defenders to spend resources faster than they can be replaced. This is exactly what the planners intended. The attack is not just physical, it is economic. A cheap drone can force the launch of an expensive interceptor. A relatively simple machine can trigger a response costing many times its own value. The mathematics of modern warfare are changing, and everyone is beginning to notice. Meanwhile, high above the battlefield, surveillance aircraft continue observing every movement. Sensors track launches. Sensors track impacts. Sensors track damaged infrastructure. Information flows continuously between command centers. The entire conflict resembles a giant electronic chessboard. Every move creates new opportunities. Every mistake creates new vulnerabilities. Far offshore, naval analysts monitor the growing crisis. Their attention is no longer focused exclusively on ships. The battle has expanded far beyond the water. Energy infrastructure becomes a target. Communication networks become a target. Logistics hubs become targets. The battlefield is now everywhere. A nation can possess powerful frontline forces, but if fuel supplies disappear, those forces stop moving. If electricity fails, coordination becomes difficult. If communications collapse, confusion spreads. Modern warfare is not simply about destroying armies. It is about disrupting systems. The swarm continues advancing. Some drones remain concentrated around urban areas. Others split away from the main formation, flying low, flying fast, using terrain to mask their approach. Rivers, valleys, industrial corridors. Anything that reduces detection becomes useful. Radar operators struggle to maintain continuous tracking. Targets appear, disappear, then reappear somewhere else. The uncertainty creates pressure, and pressure creates mistakes. Several defensive batteries reposition to engage new threats. That movement creates temporary gaps in coverage. The drones exploit those gaps immediately. A power facility suddenly reports an explosion. Moments later, another facility reports damage. Then, another. Emergency response teams scramble into action. Utility operators attempt to reroute power. Backup systems activate, but the cumulative effect begins growing. Entire sections of the region experience disruptions. Lights vanish. Industrial operations stop. Transportation networks slow. The consequences spread far beyond the immediate strike zone. Military planners understand exactly what they are witnessing. This is not random destruction. This is systematic pressure. Every successful hit forces additional decisions. Every decision consumes resources. Every consumed resource weakens future defenses. Back at sea, the crippled frigate continues drifting under emergency power. The vessel has become a symbol of a larger problem. Large warships were built to fight aircraft, submarines, and missiles. Now they face a new category of threat. Small, fast, cheap, difficult to detect, difficult to predict, difficult to stop. The old assumptions are beginning to crack, and military observers around the world are paying attention. Inside command centers, analysts compare reports arriving from across the theater. Damage assessments, ammunition expenditure rates, infrastructure disruptions, operational readiness. The numbers reveal a disturbing trend. Defenders are working harder every hour simply to maintain existing positions. Attackers are forcing reactions faster than defenses can adapt. That imbalance continue forever. Eventually, something must give. As dawn approaches, the battlefield takes on an eerie appearance. Smoke columns rise from multiple locations. Emergency vehicles move through darkened streets. Anti-aircraft crews reload weapons whenever supplies allow. Engineers race to repair damaged systems. Yet despite all the activity, a sense of uncertainty hangs over everything. No one knows where the next strike will appear. No one knows how many drones remain. No one knows whether the current attack is the main effort or merely preparation for something larger. That uncertainty becomes a weapon in itself. Fear spreads faster than explosions. Questions spread faster than fire. The defenders remain alert, but alertness comes with a price. Fatigue, stress, exhaustion. Hour after hour, personnel remain at combat stations, watching screens, monitoring sensors, waiting for the next warning, waiting for the next contact, waiting for the next wave. And somewhere beyond the horizon, another operation is already being prepared. One that will reach beyond ships, beyond drones, Beyond coastal defenses, an operation aimed directly at the network connecting the entire battlefield together. Because destroying weapons is useful, destroying information is even better. And before the next phase begins, the war over the Black Sea will become something far more dangerous than a fight for territory. It will become a fight for sight itself. The side that can see will survive. The side that becomes blind will not. Dawn is still hours away. The Black Sea remains wrapped in darkness, but beneath that darkness, both sides are preparing for the next move. The drone attacks against the coast have achieved their purpose. Air defense units have burned through valuable ammunition. Radar operators have spent hours tracking endless targets. Critical infrastructure has been forced into emergency operations. Most importantly, uncertainty has spread across the entire battlefield. That uncertainty creates opportunity, and opportunity is exactly what fleet commanders have been waiting for. Inside a heavily guarded harbor, engines begin to rumble. Massive warships sit motionless against the piers. For months they have remained trapped, operating under constant surveillance and threat. Every movement monitored, every departure tracked, every mission riskier than the last. Now commanders believe the moment has arrived. Reports from across the region suggest defensive networks are strained, resources are stretched. Attention is divided. If there is ever going to be a chance to move, it is now. Orders are issued. Crew members rush to battle stations. Navigation systems power up. Communication networks come alive. The harbor begins to wake. One by one, vessels prepare to leave shelter behind. At the front of the formation sits a heavily armed frigate. Its steel hull towers above the dark water. Radar arrays rotate continuously. Missile launchers stand ready. Close-range defense guns scan the horizon. Behind it, additional warships prepare to follow. Further back, support vessels and submarines wait for the signal. The operation is simple. Break out. Reach open water. Restore freedom of movement. Reclaim initiative. But military history is filled with operations that look simple on paper. Reality rarely follows paper. Far above the Black Sea, surveillance platforms detect the activity almost immediately. Electronic signatures begin changing. Movement patterns shift. Thermal sensors identify engines coming online. Analysts studying the data recognize the significance within minutes. The fleet is moving. The information spreads rapidly through command networks. Commanders receive updates. Operators receive coordinates. Weapons crews receive instructions. The trap is beginning to close. Several miles from the harbor entrance, the sea appears empty. Calm waves roll across the surface. Nothing seems unusual. Nothing seems dangerous, but appearances can be deceptive. Hidden in the darkness are unmanned attack craft. Small, fast, difficult to detect. Each carries enough explosive force to cripple a major vessel. They sit silently on the water, waiting. Their operators do not need visual contact. Data from surveillance assets provides everything necessary. Speed, direction, distance, timing. Every variable is constantly updated. Every movement is calculated. The approaching warships have no idea how many eyes are watching them. The lead frigate exits the harbor. Its crew remains alert. Sensors scan the surrounding area. Radar beams sweep across the sea. For several minutes, everything appears normal. Then a radar operator notices something. A small contact. Barely visible. Almost indistinguishable from background clutter. The contact disappears. Then reappears. Then disappears again. The operator reports the anomaly. Moments later, additional contacts appear. Now several. Then more. The bridge grows tense. Weapon systems are activated. Targeting computers begin processing information. The contacts are moving fast. Very fast. The realization spreads quickly. These are not fishing boats. These are not civilian vessels. These are incoming threats. The frigate immediately changes course. Defensive systems lock onto the nearest target. Within seconds, the ship's rapid-fire cannon opens fire. The weapon unleashes a storm of metal. Thousands of rounds race across the water. Tracer fire illuminates the darkness. The sea becomes a battlefield of flashing light and exploding spray. One attack craft disappears in a fireball. The crew cheers briefly. Then another contact appears. Then another. Then another. The celebration ends immediately. The attack is not coming from one direction. It is coming from multiple directions at once. That changes everything. The defensive gun destroys a target on the left. By the time it shifts right, new threats have already advanced hundreds of feet closer. The targeting computer struggles to prioritize. Every second creates new decisions. Every decision creates new risks. The ship possesses tremendous firepower, but even tremendous firepower has limits. The attackers understand those limits perfectly. Several unmanned craft intentionally expose themselves. They become distractions, sacrificial targets. Their purpose is not survival. Their purpose is attention. As defensive weapons engage the visible threats, additional craft approach from less protected angles. The tactic works. The defenders focus where the explosions are happening. The real danger approaches somewhere else. Suddenly, an impact shakes the lead frigate. The explosion erupts near the bow. Steel twists violently. Shockwaves travel through the hull. Crew members lose their footing. Equipment crashes to the deck. The vessel continues moving, but something has changed. Momentum begins fading. Speed starts dropping. The warship is wounded. The attackers immediately recognize the opportunity. Additional craft accelerate toward the target. The frigate's defensive guns continue firing. The barrels glow from sustained use. Ammunition stocks begin shrinking. Target after target is engaged. Yet the attackers keep coming. The engagement is turning into a mathematical problem. The defenders need time. The attackers need distance. Every second favors one side. Every yard favors the other. Then a second explosion strikes. This time, the damage is closer to the center of the vessel. Windows shatter. Communication equipment fails. Internal systems report multiple malfunctions. The crew fights to maintain control. But the situation continues deteriorating. Meanwhile, the remaining ships behind the lead vessel face a terrible dilemma. Move forward and risk entering the same kill zone. Stop and become trapped. Turn around and abandon the mission. None of the options are good. The harbor entrance begins transforming into a bottleneck. Exactly as the attackers intended. Far overhead, surveillance systems continue recording everything. Military analysts watch events unfold in real time. What they are witnessing is more than a naval engagement. It is a demonstration of a changing battlefield. For generations, naval power depended upon large platforms. Large ships carried larger weapons, larger sensors, larger crews, larger capabilities. Now much smaller systems are challenging those assumptions. Technology is altering the balance. Cost is altering the balance. Adaptation is altering the balance. The consequences extend far beyond a single harbor, far beyond a single fleet. Military planners around the world are paying close attention, because every lesson learned here will influence future conflicts elsewhere. Back on the water, the battle reaches its climax. The damaged frigate struggles to remain operational. Flooding spreads. Power fluctuates. Crew members continue fighting for survival. But the attackers sense weakness. More unmanned craft move in. The vessel's defensive network is overwhelmed. Too many targets. Too many directions. Too little time. Then comes the final series of impacts. Explosions erupt across the rear section of the ship. Flames rise into the night sky. Systems fail one after another. The vessel slows dramatically. Eventually, it stops moving altogether. A massive warship that once projected power across the sea now drifts helplessly in the darkness. The battle is effectively over, but the implications are only beginning. As the first light of dawn appears on the horizon, smoke hangs above the water. Damaged vessels remain scattered near the harbor entrance. Emergency crews struggle to respond. Command centers evaluate losses. Analysts assemble reports. And military leaders confront an uncomfortable reality. The future of warfare may not belong to the biggest platform. It may belong to the platform that adapts the fastest. Because modern battlefields reward information. They reward flexibility. They reward innovation. The side that recognizes change gains an advantage. The side that ignores change risks becoming obsolete. Across the Black Sea, that lesson is becoming impossible to miss. The night began with confidence. It ended with questions. Questions about strategy. Questions about technology. Questions about what naval power will look like in the years ahead. And as the sun finally rises over the water, one fact stands above all others. The age of uncontested dominance is ending. A new era has arrived. And every nation watching the Black Sea now understands the same thing. The next war will not be won by the largest weapon. It will be won by the side that learns the fastest.